In today's video, we are making bats, animated bats. Come with me. Let's get started with the spooky bat cave. So for this, the first thing we're going to need is a motor. Now I have two of them here. This one is like a very slow RPM. This one, I've used it to spin like a steel tumbler with resin on it because it spins so slow that the resin evenly coats it. This one is much faster, but not super fast. But as you can see, it's not as beefy. So very high torque, low torque. Another thing you'll need is a piece of wood. This is just a piece of plywood. You can also mount it on the ceiling if you want. But I like it on a piece of wood because it can be removed and changed as you need. Now we're going to start by placing the motor right in the middle of the wood and fasten it with hot glue or screws. I'm going to start by hot gluing this big one. And then if this is the right motor, we'll use like a 5-minute epoxy to fix it like for good. I'm gonna make a little hole here to recess this cable so it doesn't sit all crooked but sits flush. Right, that is perfect. That's sitting nice and flush. This motor you can plug straight to an AC outlet. It's a 120 volt. This one, you have to put it to a voltage adapter. 12 volts is for this. This video is in part sponsored by Temu. They sent me the stuff that I'm going to show you for free. And it's quickly becoming my favorite online retailer. These are bats, right, that you glue to the wall. And you can get a bag of like from 6 all the way to like 100. So I like this because it's nice and floppy, right? You can also get as complicated, which we'll do this tutorial later, and make your own out of a pool noodle. In this case, what will happen is you don't attach the body to the motor, instead you put the wings. That way the body stays at one level and then the wings go up and down. But for simplicity's sake, for the most and easiest, biggest impact, we're going to use these guys. I find them nice and bendy. Hopefully it will work. So I'm going to use some static bats that are going to be just hanging, right, with no movement. And then among those, maybe 5 or 6, we'll have the ones that go up and down. And these I'm going to do maybe 3 or 4. I haven't decided yet. Now this is the tricky part, because I still haven't found a place where you can just buy this that fits. So I took a popsicle stick and with some 5-minute epoxy, I put a screw there that fits. In this case, it will fit this motor pretty good. Tighten it and you have a nice arm there, right? Kind of like that. And on this one, what I'll do is use again hot glue to stick this in there. Now as far as the shape, it needs to be, this end goes in the motor, so let's pretend like that. Then this end has to be loose and have some clearance. There has to be some room between here and here, otherwise the fishing line will get all tangled up in the motor, right? It has to clear the movement. Another thing is that the length of this determines how much your bat flies. So in this case, there's about 3 inches, right? 3.5 inches. So it's going to fly a total of 7 multiplied by 2. So at this point, the string will be here. And then at the furthest point, the string will be all the way over here. For this demo, I'm going to use 3 of these eye hooks or eye loops or eye screws, whatever you call it. And we're going to put them in the places where you want the bats to be flying vertically, right? You have to picture this upside down. So, and mix it up with the other ones that are static. So maybe we can put one like let's see, something you can see on the camera. Maybe one right here, maybe one over here at this end, maybe another one way up here, right? So they're spread out. I left my drill at the lake, so I'm going to use the Dremel tool and one of these tiny little drill bits to put the holes for the hooks to go in, just to get the hole started. I cannot find a chuck as big as this drill bit, so I'm going to use this diamond thing that I don't ever use for anything else, and it's just to drill a teeny little hole. Oh, you may want to get a thicker piece of wood and bigger eye hooks if you're using something bigger, something heavier, maybe some Bad Style Articulated or some like really heavy ghosts, because we can make floating ghosts too, you know. And I have 100 other ideas that we're going to try on this channel. So that looks good there. So that one's there. I'm going to put one maybe here. We have to make sure it doesn't interfere with the cable. So I'm going to either glue this down, staple it, or tape it. But let's put another hole maybe here. There's no rhyme or reason, right? So, oh, and one thing that is awesome is I have this Dremel always turned on to the maximum RPM because it's a single speed, but then I got a foot pedal, and that has been a life changer because I can decide how slow, how fast I want it. So I put a link below because this is like awesome. You plug this to the pedal and then you regulate the speed with the pedal, which also frees your other hand. And I'm going to repeat this a couple more times, so I won't bore you with that. One thing I forgot, thanks to my great ADHD, is to paint this. So I'm going to take this out to the garage. I'll be right back. And I'm just going to spray paint it black. I'm going to remove this and glue it again. So nothing new to see here. I'll be back. I spray painted the board black. I didn't do an awesome job, but all I need to do is to hide on the ceiling. Now for the mechanism, I changed my mind on the popsicle stick because it's a little too lightweight. So what I did, I'll show you down here. I took one of these picture hanger things that you put on the wall and flattened it with a hammer. Okay, and then I drilled a hole right here. And the idea is to have an arm that goes on the motor. So in this case, we have this that comes with it. So this is the one on the link, comes with this. Then this will go here. Then the screw, which took me forever to find, is this one. It looks like a size 6, but it's a different thread than all those in these boxes that I've been looking. Totally different. But anyway, this one will fit right here. What I'll do is I'm going to use some of that 2-part epoxy, that kind that is like putty, to make sure to secure this, make almost like a custom coupler, so that it grabs onto this hex area here and to the metal thing. So this, in theory, will spin. So now we need something over here. For that I found some screws right here. This is show you what kind. This kind. I didn't buy these. I just looked everywhere in my house and found them. So I must have bought these for something else. Okay, and that one fits perfectly. So I'm going to make this hole a little bit bigger, but the idea is that this will fit there. And we have this O-ring or whatever you call it, spacer. Let me drill this hole a little bit bigger and I can show you the whole mechanism. Now, if I remember, I'll bookmark this part, but if not, one of you can put the timestamp in the comments, because we're going to use this mechanism in a bunch of our props. This can animate a lot of things, and I can show you those in future tutorials. But we need an arm, as I mentioned. We got this, this comes with it, like I said. It has a hole that fits one of these perfectly, but that's just a little too big. So they come with this little, they're called like worm screws that go through here and hold that in place. It's this tiny, tiny little screw, see? Now let's drop it here. Loosen it up until it drops. There, now we tighten it. All right, so that's kind of secure there. It's loose like that, but it's not going to come off because the screw is going through it, okay? Now, for the arm mechanism, the part that attaches to the motor, I'm going to get the putty, put it around here, then put this on top so it grabs it, the putty, and then we'll put the screw through the shaft, right, kind of like this. The screw is a little too long because of the worm thing down here, so we might have to put a spacer like a nut or something else, or you can use the putty as your spacer. I'm going to tighten this up a little bit later, but right now it's loose just so I can show you what I'm trying to do. On this side, this is the part that's going to pull the strings of whatever the puppet is that you are animating. So the way that I'm going to do this, you need to have a ring that spins freely and also doesn't fall through the hole, okay? Now with that said, drop the ring, then I am putting this up a bit. We're going through here, upside down. No, don't do it upside down. Put it like that. We're going to tighten this, obviously the bottom clockwise and the top clockwise. Once you tighten it, it's solid, okay? Now, I'm going to have to disassemble this again because you'll see why I have to drill some holes here. Depending how many flying bats you want, you drill tiny little holes on the edges of this. So I'm going to do 3 to 5. So let's start with 3, and if I need more, I'll put 2 more. I'm not going to bore you showing you how I drilled this, but I'm putting a hole there, and a hole there, and a hole there. Now, if for any reason we decide like 5 bats, then we can add 1 there, and maybe 1 right about there, right? And if you want 10 bats, then do 10 holes equally spaced. And we are done. I made 3 for now, but I'm going to drill 5 later. So for the demonstration, we're doing 3 bats. Now let's assemble this piece. I'm using this steel stick, but you can use any 2-part putty, or you could use something like epoxy sculpt, or you can use something like thermoplastic beads. Just melt them or soften them in the hot water and then shape them around your fitting. So this stuff, it says to use gloves. So twist the piece off and now start kneading it. It'll warm up. Remember, this hardens up in like 5 minutes, so work expeditiously. Mix it up until it has one homogeneous color throughout. And most of these, you can enjoy the smell of dog feces, because that's what this smells like. Not very good. Right, this is warming up, so let's get to it. I want to be able to take the screw and adjust it, so maybe what I'll do is grab the sides. And hold on, because if I can zoom, you'll know. Right, so if I put it here on the side, so it grabs the brass piece, and on the other side, have them meet here and here, all the while trying to leave room for the screw. All right, now let's do like Ron Popeil and set it, and where's the audience? Forget it, right? This is solid. If you think it's ugly, you can always sand it, drill it, whatever you need. But that's not going anywhere, okay? And we can remove the arm if we need to, because the worm screw is still available. Now, the trick with this is that this has to be going around smoothly without catching. But that's not perfectly smooth, so I'm putting another a little washer I found, just to add a little extra layer of security. So that, there you go, that's, look at that, that's nice and smooth, which is what we want. So now we assemble it, but not upside down. Then let's put this one. The mechanism itself is done now. Now get some fishing line. The thinnest that you can afford that will hold the weight of your bats or whatever you are animating. My fishing line is 6 pounds. It's nice and clear, see-through. I would use lighter if I could, because it also hangs a little bit straighter rather than a real stiff line. In order to attach them to the gold ring, we're going to take, we're not going to use it all, but get 3 pieces of about 5 foot. That way we have extra, which we can cut off because it sucks to add on to it. So cut 3 pieces or whatever many holes you had. Now the easiest way is to get a little loop like that. That is it. Okay, I'm going to take this and let's get this off. Let me zoom in so you can see. I'm going to take the other end, put it through one of the holes and run this through the loop just to make a quick and easy attachment. All right, there you go. And I'm going to cut the excess just so it doesn't tangle anywhere. Something like that. Now, let's do this 3 more times. That is tied on all 3 ends. So we have 3 loose ends and we're gonna run them to the little loops. While I was offline, I went ahead and rigged this guy, the same as that one, right? Just in case this is too slow, we can rip that off, put this one on, put this mechanism here, and we are good to go. Again, this one's faster, but weaker. This one's super strong, but it's very slow. Okay, so here's one. I painted it so you cannot see it very well, and we're just going to, I'm going to thread the fishing line through the little hole here. For 1, then we do the same over here. Make sure they don't get tangled. And the last one, let's put it right, see it right there? I think this was like 30 feet long. All right, so there it goes. Now that is going to be an issue because it's crossing behind the thing. So when this turns, that is going to start tangling the line. So plan B, I'm going to raise these at least to this height so that they're in line with this. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of like a disaster. Right, let me do that real quick. All I'm doing is gluing some wood blocks here and then re-screwing the eyelets, the eye hooks on the top of them so that they're at the same level as the shaft here. Now, these are glued right now, but I'm going to go from behind and put a little wood screw just to make sure we hold them in place. So I'm going to mount the little eye things, these guys, on top of this. And that should fix our problem. The other thing is I'm going to use these guys is to find the middle of it and then balance it to the best of your abilities so that, well, so it is balanced, but not only side to side. I'm going to use my toothpick from Temu. Love this thing. Find that is a good spot right there. Maybe I should push it, but I'll go through my finger. Not a very good idea. So, all right, I just marked it there. Now I poked a hole through the bat, ran the fishing line to the bat, and then made a knot on the other side. I'm going to put a drop of super glue there, and I'm going to test, and I'm going to not taste it. I'm going to test the movement to see if we like it, right? And then we'll adjust the height. Let's go install this board on the ceiling. Now, as far as installing it, I think that's going to be kind of up to you. I'm going to try to find a stud. If I cannot find a stud, I'll just use one of those plastic anchors with a wood screw like this that you can put through the drywall and mount it that way. And then now you can take the screw off when you're done with the prop and just leave the hole there for the next year. Or, I don't know, there's various ways of doing this, but I'm going to just put 4 holes on the ceiling, put the anchors, then drill matching holes on the board. That wouldn't work, will it? I'll put the board on the ceiling, drill 4 holes so that they match on the ceiling, and then put the anchors and then the screws. Let's do that. Now, this pack from Temu is pretty cool because it comes with a bunch of bats, right? There's like a ton for the stationary ones. that are full size, because there's a ton of the little ones too, but I'm not sure if I want those little ones just yet, or glue them to like the wall or something, right? That's the little ones. All right, let's go put this on the ceiling and hope my wife will forgive me for making holes to the ceiling. You don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness later. Let's try and do that, see how that goes. Now while we're here, let's go ahead and do the wiring. So on these motors, the high torque, low speed, they come with a switch that has a 120 volt AC plug and 2 lines that plug right into these 2 lines. Okay, they also come with connectors. These are like pinch connectors, and since there's a temporary prop, this is perfect because I can install it and uninstall it as I need. All right, so now we have a connection. Since we don't know if this is the right motor or not, I'm just going to secure it with a little bit of hot glue, which should be somewhere. I'd rather find it with my eyes than with my fingers. You just stretch this just a little. Right there, where the other bat's gonna go, and just put a dab of hot glue. I'm going to mount it behind this thing right here, so it'll be right here. Don't mind the hole in the ceiling. That's how we get to the upside down. All right, let's try to mount this. Seems a little daunting, but you can do this. Crap. Very daunting. Where does this go? I put the anchors in, so now it's showtime. That seems pretty secure. I might have to put more screws, we'll see. Especially if we have to take it down to switch the motor. So, time to test it. Let's get the height of the bats correct. So I want this guy, I want it to be visible from the front door, which is over there. So let's put this guy here. Okay, I've installed it. This is without lights or anything. And it's extremely slow. So as you can see, it's still very slow. So I'm going to switch the motor real quick. No special instructions here. We're just going to do exactly what we did with that motor, but we're going to do it with the faster one. Let's see how that goes. That is how you make animated bats. Now, if you stay tuned in this channel, when my house is fully decorated, you'll see what they look like in full display. Now, if you love this tutorial, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And thank you, Patreon, for supporting Monster Tutorials and me. I'm Eduardo Talbert. This is Monster Tutorials. You, me, everybody is the Prop Mob. I'll see you next time.